My apologies, people. I accidentally cut that one off. But
You trying to tell me that I'm the one that fucking told? Is that what you're trying to do? Who told it? Your stupid ass friend you did 5 fucking shots outside. You think this isn't a family neighborhood? So don't you fucking dare fucking try to blame me, motherfucker. Don't you ever fucking try to blame me for this shit. You guys fucking ran around constantly. Don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking dare. What? I know you're walking out. I'm being
what? Burrito?
Oh, I did. Okay. Well, you know what? You know right where my motherfucking apartment is, right? You know where mine? Oh, you want to play me? You want to fucking play me? You want to fucking threaten me? No, this is bullshit, man. This is the fucking shit that we're dealing with. You fucking heard of threatening, right? Yeah.
Doesn't look like the police are doing a very good job of holding down the scene.
Remember my motherfucking
Order.
face. Remember my fucking face.
He's not holding down order very well. Law and order, that's what they're supposed to enforce. How come he's not controlling the scene? How come he's not mediating and telling people to move on? She has no reason to be down here. Liberally construed, this can be considered interfering with the fucking police investigation.
No, I don't. But I swear to God, I have one motherfucking bag. I'll be the first thing to watch me now. Watch me motherfucking now. Watch me now. I'm gonna call every goddamn time I hear a fucking fart. So you just started off.
So, supervising deputy still hasn't went up to see or secure the threshold. He is now maybe.
You don't know your fucking law. You don't know your law.
Over here trying to hold the scene down.
Camera on me all you want. I don't give a shit.
It's actually for you, ma'am. It's actually for you.
Right?
It's actually for you.
Right?
Yeah, it's for you. Yeah, it's to help you. If we had more diligent officers that actually knew how to do their jobs, then people like me wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But a brief while back, I was informed of a case law, Mulberry versus Madison. And in this case law, Mulberry versus Madison, when Mr. Madison became president, he decided to bring civil action against a judge. The judge's name was Mr. Mulberry. And in this action that he brought against Mr. Mulberry, he asserted that they didn't do their proper due diligence. That they just went through their job kind of pushing paperwork. I think that's a modern day term. But essentially he was lackadaisical, just did whatever, and if the means justifies the ends or whatnot, the type of lackadaisical, lazy attitude that we're having. Now, my assertion is this. These officers that are out here enforcing the laws have no real understanding of the law. As you can see in my direct line of questioning with some of these officers, they weren't able to stand up to it. Kind of got jammed up, and they damn near, in a liberally construed way, admitted that they were walking a very fine line. Now, this can all be taken into consideration with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I'd assert that all lives matter, and I'd assert that I have newspaper articles where certain officers actually did a firing squad and killed a white gentleman. Now, the reason why this is prevalent is because we're all taught in high school and in school period that America is run off of checks and balances. That way no one branch of the government monopolizes all the power. Now, your law enforcement works in the executive branch of the government. Okay, and the executive branch of the government is sole purpose there to execute the orders of the judiciary. Now, as we previously stated, a probable cause has to be established by a member of the judiciary. And so far, the police are here. They're not in the judiciary presenting any evidence conducted via investigation, lawfully obtained in accordance with the Fourth Amendment, which would restrict them from illegally searching and seizing certain things. Now, had they had a chain of custody and a direct line of sight, that would have given them probable cause. If an officer has direct knowledge that a crime was committed and that a certain individual committed the crime, they are allowed to pursue. They are even allowed to hot pursuit into another county or another jurisdiction such as a state. However, we had an officer admit that he did not have a direct line of sight on the suspect wherever he went. He did not divulge how he received the information about where the suspect went. However, he did not divulge it to the judiciary either. Not until after my suspect was arrested and detained. And since he did not present it to a member of the judiciary, that makes it an illegal seizure, because he did not present any evidence to the judiciary stating how he knew this knowledge or what knowledge he knew. Now, this all pertains to the Black Lives Matter movement because we have officers out here killing people without due process. Now, an officer shouldn't be allowed to just shoot somebody and kill somebody without due process. An officer shouldn't be allowed to just enter a dwelling and occupy that space, not knowing who, Yeah, let's take this for an example. Officer Stackhouse, back in the 90s. What happened with Officer Stackhouse? Officer Stackhouse was caught with a bunch of bodies in his basement.
Yeah,
And
sure.
Officer Stackhouse was
Like, I'm gonna
also
believe that.
not
Like, I'm some
convicted.
kid
Oh,
that
you
I
can
don't
listen
know
to what I'm
better.
saying. I'll send you a copy.
reals.
I'll send you a copy, ma'am. Officer Stackhouse was also not convicted of any of the murders that he committed.
I'll be having a carry and conceal in 3 days.
Now, when you think of the Black Lives Matter movement and the power that these police have to kill somebody, to just do whatever they want in somebody's domicile, I'm trying to give her some anonymity. She doesn't want to be on camera, so I can see the door on the bottom from here without having her face in the picture, because she thinks I'm here trying to threaten her when I'm really just trying to make sure the police are held to accountability and to the standard that they're supposed to meet. Because little does the public know that they aren't trained in the law. They don't have a degree in the law. They don't even really know the law. They take courses every once in a while. I think they're 6-week courses to kind of brush up on the law and have like a general understanding of it. And I mean, there's Latin in the law. Like, do the officers understand Latin? Do they understand the terms? Have they thumbed through Black's Law Dictionary, which is something like 1,900 pages long? No, they haven't.
Hey, tell him.
Yeah.
Tell him, Blue.
I promise you. Because look, this is the difference between, if you've seen the Denver Metro audits, he goes on there and he just pesters. And he's just poking around and talking shit a little bit. He doesn't say nothing about no laws. He doesn't say nothing about no constitution. He doesn't get the fucking officers caught in a line of questioning to where they show that they don't have any knowledge of the law. I've jammed up 2 officers freestyling nervous as hell. My anxiety is through the roof. You know what I mean?
Literally. Tell him, Blue. Tell him.
Literally, and I almost didn't answer the phone call.
And I'm glad you did.
Well, you can't always hold a grudge, you know what I mean? I'm supposed to be more mature than that.
You're a smart young man.
I'm gonna make sure that this woman gets a copy of these videos. That way she knows what the purpose is. The purpose of these videos is to start bringing attention to the American people. How are you going to let an entity such as the police department tell you what the laws are when they don't know what the laws are? How are you as an American citizen gonna not know the laws that they're gonna hold you to a standard of? My man Eon in the sovereignty videos, he puts it really well. Ask them one question. Are you conducting an investigation? They cannot force you to divulge information, evidence, testimony, anything about yourself during the course of an investigation without your attorney present. Have we seen an attorney? That's going to be my next question for the officers. Have we seen an attorney? Because here we have a lady that feels like she's being threatened. And she's in there just saying whatever she is saying to the police, not knowing whatever she's saying could be used against her in the court of law. She's running around talking about she's going to have her concealed carry permit. That's not good. Still in the domicile, we heard voices, at least of a male party, talking to one of the officers outside. Let's see if we can't find the supervisor. He's right here. Wait for him for a second. Is this another officer? You'll be able to tell by the plates on the back. Nope, unless it's the officer's personal vehicle, it is not the officer. Because state vehicles, work vehicles, don't have tags on them. However, he's taking off over there to go talk to this gentleman. So one more quick question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
While you're conducting an investigation, there is a clause that prohibits a member of law enforcement from forcing somebody to give up testimony or, any kind of information that's
Like coercion, right?
coercion, yes.
Yeah.
So they have to be in the presence of their attorney. Have you asked anybody if they wanted an attorney yet?
Was anybody in custody that gave a...
I'm just asking a general question. It's
They're-
not
they're-
meant to be
they're
threatening,
not in
sir.
custody.
But-
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody's in custody. Nobody's... If any...
Well, there is one person in custody.
Yeah, and that person was asked.
Okay, but I'm
Otherwise, nobody else was
saying
asked.
the other occupants of the domicile, were they asked to, if they wanted an attorney?
I'm going to answer your question short,
That's
just
right.
just to how what you're getting at. Nobody was forced to speak to me or any other officer here today.
No, I wasn't getting
and
at
no,
if you forced them. I
no.
was just asking if you asked them if they wanted an attorney.
Well, they did. They said they were calling their attorney and they were calling you as a lawyer, right? So like I said, and we say, yeah, it's fine. When he gets here, we'll talk to them. And that's what we've been doing since you got here.
I believe that would be called a friend. In fact, I don't know if the courts would allow that right away. I'd have to file some paperwork or whatnot.
But at least somebody represents them, or that they feel comfortable representing, and that's you.
More than anything, I'm doing this, for a general aspect, because
Protect people from us.
well, there's a lot of lackadaisical things that go on. I'm not saying that it's your fault.
No, I'm not taking nothing personal.
Things get into a general nature, and people just tend to go along with them. And I've done a lot of time in prison and whatnot, and a lot of time in therapy, and most of that was done when I was younger. The Department of Corrections has no rehabilitation. There's no individualized treatment. There's no understanding of certain things, and I feel like there's a lot of power that's being usurped because, honestly, sir, what is that?
It's fire.
Or it could be considered a murder weapon.
Yeah, and depending on whose hands it's in.
That's exactly it.
And
And
how it's used.
you seem like you're a pretty stable dude, but not everybody is. And sometimes things get out of hand, so it'd be nice to work together and come to a common ground, a common understanding.
Most definitely. Yeah.
And that's what the purpose of this is.
Yeah.
There's a case law back in the day called Milbury versus Madison.
Well, I want everybody, especially the kids running around, I want everybody to know the law.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it helps them stay out of trouble. And everybody should know their rights, right?
They should. I feel like it should be taught in high school.
It should
We
be
should
taught,
start
in
at
middle
freshman and all the way through.
school. I think it should be taught in middle school, to be honest.
Because it's a very complicated thing.
At least some of the smaller ones should be taught. What I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. They at least know where to find probable cause at and due process.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know what that is. They don't know the rules.
Well, I'm gonna go out and try to find you guys real quick.
Yeah, he went that way
Nice talking to you,
with
man.
another gentleman. Yep.
That's me.
You have a good one, man. We're gonna go back up and see what we can see out of the domicile. So, from the sounds of things, it sounds like there was a shooting. And it sounds like they're kind of mixed up on whether there was one or two suspects for a little while there. And then it seems as though they have not secured a firearm. And, even if they do secure a firearm, how can they be sure that that's the firearm from the shooting? So we're just waiting here to see what kind of evidence they gathered. Because if they're looking for a firearm, that should be the only evidence. And if they have more than the firearm, well, that would tell me that there was ulterior motives. And if there are ulterior motives, that's fine. Go about it the proper way. File the complaint, do the investigation, establish probable cause through the hearing. Don't arrest somebody and file the complaint after they're arrested. The arrest warrant and the subpoena, those two rules in the Colorado Rules of Criminal Procedure come after the filing of the complaint. 9 times out of 10, somebody is in jail before the complaint is filed. And that's a perversion of justice. They are supposed to follow the rules. They are supposed to make sure that they go step by step diligently. And that due diligence would require a complaint to be filed after they've established probable cause. No, hold on. How does it go? It goes complaint, the establishment of probable cause, then they fucking ask for either a subpoena or a warrant. And when they're asking for the subpoena, when they're making that decision, they have to take into consideration all the factors of bond. The Constitution strictly says that they are to limit the amount of pre-trial incarceration. Because the preponderance of evidence, hold on. The presumption of innocence. They're innocent until proven guilty. Whoever the suspect is that they have in custody, they got a general description of them maybe, they got a specific description of them, but all of those things have to be established as probable cause prior to entering the domicile, prior to all of these things. Like, they have to, inform the judge of how they came across this information, all these different things. And it seems like this was kind of rushed, as is most of the things that happen. Most of the criminal actions that come in the state of Colorado are extremely rushed. Care is not taken as to certain, structural errors that are constantly being made. And when you have a structural error, okay, what a structural error is an error in the establishment of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is essential in a criminal case. They have to establish jurisdiction. Now, if jurisdiction is established on shaky ground, you have what's called a structural error. Just like Jesus taught. See, law all goes back to ecclesiastical law. It all goes back to God's law. Okay, that's why in Title 24 you only have violent crimes, sex crimes, burglaries, kidnappings, things of that nature. There's no possession of weapons by previous offender. There's no distribution. There's no possession of narcotics. There's none of that. There's no stolen cars. None of that. None of that is considered a crime in Title 24. And I would step out on a limb to say that these officers have never even reviewed what Colorado states is specifically a crime in Title 24. I would step out on a limb and say that they don't even know where to find that list. That they're probably provided with a list, and they're probably provided with a little book of statutes, and that's as much as they know about. They don't read all the titles. There's something like 48 titles in the entire statute book, and I doubt that they've read all 48 of them. Because I've tried, and I haven't even read all 48 of them, and I've had 23 years in the penitentiary to try to read all of them. So that part. Now, with this structural error, when you look into the rules of criminal procedure, and you look in, the appellate court rules and things like this, okay, the court says that the only remedy for a structural error is to dismiss it without prejudice, meaning that they can't bring it up again. You understand? They can't bring it up again. It's such a big deal that if they commit a structural error, they can't bring it up again. Because jurisdiction is key. Why is jurisdiction key? Well, we have things like the 14th Amendment, which wasn't ratified through Congress, but the 14th Amendment means that you have equal protection to the laws. Okay? Equal protection to the laws. That everybody born therein are naturalized as under the jurisdiction of the state wherein they reside. So the state has to establish jurisdiction. That's why you have the people of the state of Colorado versus such and such. Because the state feels that this is either an infamous or a notorious crime that is worthy of prosecution. Now, the Constitution also mandates that they file a, what is that called? Why am I running a blank? They file a, it's what they do in the feds with the grand jury indictment. They file an indictment for an infamous crime. Now, I would step out on a limb to say that a shooting would be an infamous crime. So in all infamous crimes, they must proceed by indictment. Now, the special thing about an indictment is that the grand jury establishes probable cause well before they go get the person. And when they go get the person, they give them a copy of the indictment immediately. Because Service and notice is a thing. That's why every time you go into a courtroom, the judge says, are you aware of your rights? Now, for whoever's watching this, I would like you to know that you are not aware of your rights. 99% of the people who go into the criminal justice system are not aware of their rights. Don't have a clue as to what they are. You know what I mean? All of these things are necessary for you to live in America. You need to know all of these things. Because at any given moment, the quartering of soldiers could take place. You know, we're in a state of martial law. You have to understand something. They free the slaves. Emancipation Proclamation. They kill Lincoln. Okay? They lose the war. Then what happens right after that? They pass the 14th Amendment. Oh, no, they don't pass it, but they bring it up to Congress. Those dudes in the South, the rebels, they didn't lose the war willingly. They were forced to quit fighting. I mean, that's at least what we're taught in the history classes, right? How do you think they felt about being equal to the slaves that were just freed from them? If you look up a draught of a declaration, it's written by Albert Pike. He's a famous 33rd degree Freemason. He wrote this Declaration of Independence for the state of Arkansas when they seceded from the nation. That's right. Whenever the 14th Amendment was brung forth to Congress, 2/3 of Congress got up and walked out. The 14th Amendment was never ratified. Congress never actually reconvened. Which would mean that, guess what? We are in a state of martial law. That's why the quartering of soldiers applies. Because right now, you have